Let's see. Let's see what it looks like. It says we're live.
We don't know if we're live, but we're going to try we're live.
It says we're live. Let me see. Let me check the sound.
Yeah, it came up on my phone.
How's our audio?
Good. How's you guys doing tonight? So,
what's up, you guys?
I know.
It was only like 30 minutes of fucking around with that.
Don't we love technology? Technology is awesome.
Oh, man.
So,
that was something else.
We made it. We are here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm here with Dan Plata at ResponsiveCon. Dan, what are your thoughts about things like this here, about coming to, things to learn something about how to grow a pressure wash business?
I think the most valuable part of all of this is number one, just being able to hang out so everybody on camera can't see. We got other people hanging out with us too. And it's all the relationships that in today's age, we end up doing them on Zoom or, seeing everybody rarely once in a while. And so the human element, I think, is the most important part because I only get to see you a couple times a year.
Right.
And I didn't even know if you were going to be here. Right. So sometimes it's more fun when we don't know we're all going to be together. I think there's the most value comes from the relationships and just being able to catch up and share secrets and all that stuff. And then you just pack it full of education. And you're not going to be able to take everything back and implement everything. But the cool thing about ResponsiveCon that I think most conventions can't do like we do here is they have the breakout rooms. And so not only can you go get a bunch of value and learn a bunch of cool things, you can implement them. And that's always the hardest part is you can go to a convention and learn a bunch of cool things and have all the best of intentions. But the reality is you get back to your business and you're back to drinking from a fire hose and you got 1,000 things to do and you're behind, you get back and you're behind on emails, right? Because the work doesn't stop. There's no such thing as a vacation. It's just work displacement. So you do a bunch of work before you leave, you do a bunch of work when you get back. You don't have time to implement all the shit that you learned. So at ResponsiveCon specifically, it's kind of nice because you can actually implement the stuff you're learning while you're here and they have the resources.
Like you take time and that's an hour, 2, 3 hours on your business right then and there. This isn't, we're going to learn this and take it back to our business. No, you're going to work on it. You're going to, the very first thing Kurt hit on is write down what you're going to do this week or what you want to get done. And you're going to do it, not just you're going to maybe do it, do it someday. That sounds great. Dan gave me this great idea, but I never implemented in my business. And we're going to implement it right into your business right then, right there.
There's always these these notions that catch fire and become just the nomenclature of an industry or the buzzword, if you will. And you hear all the time, you got to work on your business and not in your business. You got to work on your business and not in your business. And that's super easy to say. But the fact of the matter is when we're at our business and the business is running
and the crap's falling apart,
it's throwing things at us that we have to react to. And one of the best ways to get yourself out of that situation is to literally remove yourself from it. So you can take a little bit of a break from that battering that you take. And if you've got employees, you're oftentimes solving their problems. So this is a nice break to give you a little bit of space, which also just helps you be a better leader, kind of helps you take that breath, compose yourself, gather yourself. But you also, to truly work on your business and not in your business, you have to leave. You have to get out of there because if you're there, the business will consume you. We actually have our leadership team that's coming down here the next few days. So ResponsiveCon ends Saturday. Our leadership team flies down here Saturday so we can all get out of our businesses because we meet as a leadership team every single week. But if we're truly going to make big moves on our business and make progress and talk about strategy and goals, it's not going to happen when this customer needs something and then this employee needs something and then this other thing broke and then the government is asking us for this thing. It's just there's always something in your email box doesn't stop filling up and your workload never stops filling up and the orders and the problems and the employees and the customers. And so being at something like this helps you take that step back and actually truly working on your business. And I think Kurt takes it to the next level by creating that opportunity for you and forcing you to work on your business.
I mean, there's actually copywriters here to help you write the scripts for your videos.
We should have had somebody write a script for us tonight. That would have been smart. We could have.
That probably would have been,
what we were gonna say.
That would have been a little weird of us just reading off of a teleprompter for an hour.
I am Ron Burgundy.
but there's teleprompters, and they got, they got people that got cameras, and you can video yourself and put all this stuff on your responsive bid or even on your website and just different things like that. And so taking actions in this. And so I love when we do things like this, because it is pretty cool to be able to make sure that we are, focusing on our business and not just focusing on. And then you have some great speakers. Jason Everett was here this morning, and Michelle was speaking, and just some of those things of learning one or two things that could be the thing that could change you, or make it just that one thing, and the thing I always hear people say, well, it's cost too much, it's too expensive, and that, and I always tell people, if I can 10x whatever I pay, I'm willing to pay it all day long. And a lot of times, one little nugget can be 10x in your business. And you know what the crazy thing about that nugget is? It might not even be something that is being taught in the classroom. It might be me and you sitting here talking, bouncing ideas off. We got business owners that are doing, a couple $1 million in window cleaning here. And
the comments, the flame is annoying. It's a rave party. The lighting comes with it. Yeah, we are sitting literally right behind a fire. It was the only way we could actually get enough lighting was to be by the fire. So, but you're part of the. If you were sitting here with us, it's exactly what it would look like.
And so those are some things that I always say, and and that's why I always say, I'm willing to spend $5,000 if I know I'm going to 10x it. And I see a lot of people want to be like, well, it's this, that. You know what? If you want to really grow your business and you want to scale it, these are things you have to do and need to do to make that happen. And there's another thing that we need to do to make that happen. And since Dan is a bookkeeper, or he's a wannabe CPA, but he never got.
I don't want to be a CPA. That's not a true statement. I'm the opposite. I don't want to ever have to be a CPA.
He couldn't pass the CPA test, and so now he just had to end up being a bookkeeper now. And
I like the dig.
Because a bookkeeper, you don't have to pass the CPA test. You just say, hey, I'm a bookkeeper, and now you can start bookkeeping, right?
Man, I feel like if I defend myself now, I'm just gonna sound like an asshole. And so you put me in a weird spot. As a matter of fact, Mr. Geiman, I don't have these credentials. I want to make it clear. I don't have these credentials because I'm too cheap to pay for them.
Oh, that's what it is. Too cheap to pay for them.
I did what's called the CFA program, which is financial analysis, because bookkeeping is not about paying your taxes. Running a business is not about paying your taxes. That's what your CPA does. Running a business is about taking your financial data, making good decisions, because that's what makes you more money. That's what it's all about. So I did the CFA program. I passed all 3 exams, and then they're like, you owe us $1,000 to put these letters after your name. And I was like, all you taught me was that that's a bad investment, because I can say that I've done this and I don't need to pay for your silly ass letters. No discredit to the CFA program. Awesome knowledge, awesome exams. In this world, there's no value for me to be like, I am a CFA, because nobody would know what the hell that is.
So
you just know a CPA. So anyway, that's me defending myself and sounding like an asshole.
So, so what's the difference of me just doing QuickBooks versus hiring you as a bookkeeper then?
There's 2 parts to that. One is like, you're going to mess up the QuickBooks. That's like the first thing. Plus, you wouldn't do your own QuickBooks anyway. Who's doing your QuickBooks right now? Is it your wife?
My wife.
Yeah. It's all like, let's not kid anybody here. Jason's not going to do his own QuickBooks. So there's a couple reasons why I think it's important to have the right bookkeeper. First, let me talk about who not to have do your books. Generally, because bookkeeping gets like swept under the rug.
But my mom does excellent. She's good on the computer. Why can't I just use her?
Exactly. Because she's great at accounts payable, accounts receivable, and probably doing payroll. All processes that you said your mom. I actually think mother-in-laws are the best at
All the
that.
mother-in-laws.
Because there's like a little bit of disconnect that you can't be as mean to them.
right.
And so it keeps you a little more honest and they can't be as mean to you. And I say that super endearingly because the person that does that in all of our businesses is Mike Donkey's mother-in-law. It's my business partner's mother-in-law. And she is the best and she is phenomenal. And she makes sure all of us get paid. Like, and there's people sitting around the fire here that you guys can't see that are nodding their head, because if it was on me, we'd be like, damn, maybe we'll get the check on Monday. I don't know. Like, it's coming. I don't know how much it's going to be. We'll see. But Jen does a phenomenal job of that. That work is so important, has to get done, has to be somebody like internal usually. The paying the bills, the getting paid on your invoices and getting payroll done is super internal, super imperative to your business. That's not bookkeeping. You're not making journal entries. You're not recording debits and credits. You're not categorizing stuff in a strategic way. So that's a separate role in the business. The other thing that generally isn't bookkeeping but gets confused with bookkeeping is the tax side of things. Your CPA, your tax person, takes the end result, and their job is to have you pay as little in taxes as possible. That's not bookkeeping. That doesn't help you run the business any better. That doesn't help you make decisions about how you should pay your people. Should you invest in this thing? Should you rent this location? All of those types of decisions are not helped by the person that does your taxes. Now, you need one. Their role is super important because you don't want to be on the wrong side of the IRS or the state. You want to get your taxes right, but it has nothing to do with the decisions you make in your business. If you went to your CPA and you said, hey, how should I pay my employees? Do you think they're going to have a good answer for you? Or they're going to be like, I don't know. I don't run that business, right?
So I'm going to give you, for instance, what happened here today. Jason Everett was talking about different things about, how are you at lifestyle? How are you at, advertising? How are you doing different things? And he wanted you to rate yourself from 1 to 10. Mm-hmm. And one of them was knowing your numbers. And there was a guy up front, and he's probably going to do almost 5 million next year. And the thing he said is I don't know my numbers. And that's where Jason had went off, and I'm going to let you go off on when we don't know our numbers, what happens to us? What are things that we kind of suppress, or we don't allow that to, we can't buy purchases or something along those lines because we don't know our numbers.
The number one thing that happens is when somebody asks you how much you do, you talk in revenue, because that's the only number you know.
Right.
There's a problem with revenue, which is it doesn't mean you made any money, right? It just means you had a lot of activity. Activity is great because it can mean you made a lot of money, but it doesn't. Oftentimes it doesn't, because you don't know where the money's going. So you don't know, your gut can get you so far, right? You're not running a business with a shitty gut. If you took the chance to run your own business, you trusted your gut already. So like you've already made that decision, but your gut can only get you so far. At the point you start hiring employees, deciding to buy this truck versus that truck, rent this facility versus that facility, your gut no longer has the right answer. And so you might have a notion of what makes the most sense, but it's your finances, it's your data that's going to tell you what the right decision is. And I always like to tell people, because I hear a lot of times when people hire us to do the bookkeeping, they're like, I'm just not a numbers person. I'm like, I get that. You don't need to know how to do bookkeeping and accounting. You need to know how to find the right person, but be careful of delegating too much of the numbers. Because even if you're not a numbers person, you just signed up to play a math game. Like if you are in business, it's not about pressure washing. If you are scaling,
but wait a minute,
business,
I thought that was the whole point of this, of doing this so I can spray water and buy the best equipment and play with all this equipment that looks shiny. And
you can do that with your kids' toys. You can do that with your kids' toys.
But they don't actually spray water. I guess that would be a squirt gun, but
yeah,
Super Soaker 21.
Yeah. The new Super Soakers are pretty badass.
Yeah, they got electric batteries and everything to them now. But I thought that was the whole purpose: is get the biggest rig as I can get, and if I can afford it, okay, good. If I can't, well, I don't know, but I'll still get this big rig.
It makes you feel good.
It makes you feel good because you got this big rig. But in the end, when you have to sell that big rig, I thought that's the whole purpose of knowing our numbers, is how big of a rig can we buy next year or this year.
So the numbers definitely help you figure out how much money that rig makes you. The one thing that I find is it's never the rig that makes you the money. It's you for a while. And then it's the person that you put behind that rig. So the rig is only as good as the person running it. And so when I see companies scale, it's often that they either have too complex of a rig or they have not a complex enough of a person to run that rig, right? And so it's, you have to match the two, right? We downstream in our business, super simple. And Andy, who's sitting right there, can have a guy running that downstream, efficiently without tons and tons of training and without having to worry about the guy breaking a $20,000 piece of equipment. So like, granted, we do a little more window cleaning than pressure washing, so we're a little bit different, and ours is more of an add-on versus like the main sale. But the financial decisions that you make in that regard are what's going to tell you how much money you're going to make, and are going to help you make that decision so that you make the most money out of it. So everything, I mean, like I said, we're playing a math game. So regardless of what we're buying, the intent is always that it generates a return, and hopefully the biggest return, because if it generates the biggest return possible, that means we get to go do more of it and generate even more returns in the future.
By knowing our numbers, like what does lifetime value of a customer mean? What does that mean?
I'm gonna like back up from that question for a second and just talk about how I like to think about how we market to our customers, because we get to the lifetime value based on how much it costs us to acquire a customer. The lifetime value is only as important as what it costs us and how we find that customer. So in our businesses, we plan on making $0 in year one. That means we'll spend about 30% of our revenue on marketing per customer. So if our average job size is $500, we'd spend around $150 to get that client. If
you're willing to spend $150 just for a $500 job?
Yep, all day, every day. So, and here's why. In our business model, we plan on spending about 70% of our money on the labor, and I'm gonna skip marketing, the administrative people that sell it, take the call on the phone, the rent, the utilities, the repairs and maintenance on the vehicle. We know 70% of our money is sunk into just the infrastructure and the people and the supplies to go do the job. That means we have about 30% left to either spend on marketing or take back for ourselves. With new customers, we're willing to spend all 30% of that, because the best customers are repeats that don't cost hardly anything to market to, and referrals. So with a customer in year 0, we will make no money intentionally. Now, I don't want to like lose money on them in year 1. Right. So when we get to lifetime value, like technically you could lose money, and over the long term, you'd be fine as long as you can cash flow it this year. I don't like losing money, so that's kind of where I draw the line. I'm okay breaking even, because I know if we do a good job, we're going to get referrals. And if we do a good job, they're going to be back next year. And I'm going to make 30% then. And the 30% that I make then is going to buy me the next customer, right? And so that, like, so scalable, so repeatable. So I think I'm looking at Andy, who's like sitting this way from the camera, you guys. We did just over $1 million in our Minneapolis business this year. Our marketing spend was like 13-14%. And what we tend to find is if we spend 30% on new clients, and I think we actually were a little bit higher than that. I think we were like 33-34% on new clients. Our total marketing spend is actually more like 13-15%, because a little more than half of our clients are repeats or referrals. They're not brand new clients that we had to spend money on marketing to get them. So it perpetuates, right? So we can spend more on marketing the next year to keep like raising the tide and continue to bring home about 15% net profit margin.
So how does this have anything to do with scaling a business? Knowing our numbers, knowing how much our lifetime value of a customer is, knowing how much it costs to get a customer. How does this have anything to do with scaling a business? I thought we just bought more rigs and just, if we can book it up and just keep buying more rigs, isn't that what that way we can get bigger rigs every time?
You tend to, right? Like you can't scale up without doing that. But what I find is the guy and there's like a inflection point here, and you hear about all the sticky points in running these businesses where guys get kind of stuck on a revenue number. And so when you're first starting out and you're like going from 1 rig to 2 rigs and you're getting a crew in place, it tends to be that we like go backwards financially. We end up doing like twice as much revenue, but we actually make less money. And that freaks some people out. And if they don't know that that's going to happen, they lose their shit and they get back on the truck, right? Because they're trying to scale. They're supposed to get off the truck. I always encourage people to like, it's okay to stay on the truck a little longer than you thought you would, because that's usually where you make the most amount of money. And we were talking last night with Jonathan Maynard from the Huge Convention about generally as owners, we suck at administrative stuff. There's a reason why we don't do the ARAP and the payroll, and we should delegate that out. So when you're scaling, yeah, you need all these rigs as you go, but more importantly, you need to know what the business model is, because it's no longer, when it's not just you and you've got employees out there running your equipment and you're renting a facility and you're doing all these things, the money that you make is not the money you made, it's the money they made. And it needs to pay your salary, and it needs to pay you as an owner and generate a return, because that's why you have a business, is you're an investor and your business needs to generate a return, not just a paycheck. So to scale your business, you have to have that business model to know how much money's going here, how much money's going there, how much money's going there. When you're the solopreneur, you're running it by your gut and your bank account, and that works. When you start having the trade-off decisions of who am I sending out to this job and what equipment are they using, and do I rent this facility or not, and should I use this phone system and this CRM system, and all of a sudden you have all this infrastructure cost, you sure as hell better know what the hell that percent of spend on that thing needs to be to scale that business, or by the time you start putting all these things in place, all your money's going to be gone. You're going to be doing twice as much work and not making any damn money.
And how many businesses that you see, especially when you first start seeing people start doing bookkeeping, how many you see people that are actually making no money, and you're like, all right, what do we need to do to make this happen, to make where we start seeing a positive return?
Probably like half. And it's usually the point where somebody needs bookkeeping. And I kind of talked about this earlier, that like your office person's probably not a great bookkeeper because they don't think strategically about how to organize your stuff, and your tax person's not a great bookkeeper. When you need a bookkeeper that's actually a finance person, that's why I talk about like the finance side of it. Like bookkeeping is an accounting thing, it's a finance thing, it's to help you make decisions. It's usually when you start hiring people. When you start hiring people and you have to pay them to go clean the thing instead of you get paid to go clean the thing, it totally changes the financial picture of your business. And that's when they usually come to me and they're like, I have no idea where my money's going anymore. I knew where it was going when I was the one touching everything. But now that I've got a few guys and I've got a couple trucks, I have no idea where everything is going, and I'm making less money. And that's scary as hell. Like I'm distributing money, but I'm maybe not taking a paycheck. And so they're trying to figure out the strategy of how to pay themselves, right? And about half of them have gone from, I thought I was making a lot of money, to now I don't know where my money's going. And I know I'm supposed to be making more money because I'm doing 3 times as much revenue, but I'm not sure where it's all going and why it's all going there. And so part of it is just figuring out how to structure all that infrastructure and make sure that you're charging the right prices, right? Because when it's just you, it's easier to charge a low amount.
I was just going to say, how do we make sure that is, and that is obviously probably not the number one thing, is we can raise our prices, but that don't always fix everything either. Just by raising our prices doesn't mean that a lot of times we spend more then. And that's sometimes where we got to be careful. Just because we raise our prices and we raise them 25% and we're making more money, but now that money's just going out because we're not paying attention where that money's going.
Yep. I think so part of it is the price side of it. The other part of it is the cost side of it. When we start hiring employees, and they don't know this, right? But our employees, we like want everything for them, right? We have this like guilt factor as a business owner of like, we're here to take care of our customers, we're here to take care of our employees. And as we scale, we always put ourselves last. And I think that's okay. And that's like a natural inclination we have, but we oftentimes do it to our detriment, where we like pay them too much of a percent of that revenue. And then we can never get it back, but we can't keep paying them that amount if we're going to scale our business. And so I think if we get that right from the get-go and understand where, like how much they need to produce to get paid X, and we find the right system to manage that, then we can start managing our infrastructure a little bit better. But what I usually see when guys first start up scaling and aren't making money, it's they're dumping too much into equipment, because again, equipment doesn't make money, just the guy using it does. So they like over-invest in that without, having the guy or having the customers. And then they're either just not charging enough, or even if they are charging enough, they're paying their people too much because they just didn't do the math right to begin with. Because it seems like if you're doing $1,000 job and the guy makes, $400, $500 on that job, like it feels like he should get a pretty decent cut of it, right? But all of a sudden you start looking at like all the infrastructure costs and the marketing costs to find the next client and the repairs and maintenance on that equipment when it goes down. In pressure washing, we should be paying our people about 20%.
20%.
20%. And if you're working in teams,
And
it's
that's
kind of like,
considering your workers' comp, the whole, everything that goes with it, or you're at 20%
I
plus that.
I would say you're 20%. And then if you add, payroll taxes and workers' comp, you're kind of in like the 27, 28% area. And then, I like to shoot for cost of goods sold of around 40% pressure washing, just over 40%.
What does cost of goods sold mean?
So that's all the cost to go out and produce a job. So that, when you go out to Mrs. Jones' job, it costs you X, and you get to, as a business owner, I'll say keep the rest, but invest in your infrastructure and your marketing with the rest, and maybe you get to keep some after that. But if you can keep that around like the low 40s, around 40, 41, 42%, it allows you to pay your people around 20%, which fully loaded with workers' comp and payroll taxes gets you in like the 27 to 28% range, and you're training people and stuff like that. And then you've got fuel, you've got chemicals, and you've got tools and equipment. So like you start adding that stuff in, and that's another 13, 14, 15% of the revenue going towards those things. It can keep you in the low 40s. And if you can dial that in, it's really not that hard to scale our businesses. But if that cost starts to get sideways, and instead of bringing 60% back after you do a job, you're only bringing 50% back or 40% back, you don't have the money it takes to invest in the infrastructure to scale your business.
So obviously you've been around and bought businesses and seen people buy businesses and stuff. And how many businesses have you seen, they'll make $500,000, but in the end, they really don't make nothing because it all goes right back out. Because we haven't been smart with our money. We haven't been smart with our, who we're putting in the right places, doing the right things, stuff like that.
There's the sticky points where that happens. So there's the like 0 to 200,000 in revenue where people make a lot of money because they don't need the employees and the infrastructure. They can do it a lot, like me and a helper type of thing.
That's when you're probably the most profitable.
Percentage wise, you're super profitable, but you look super profitable because you're not paying yourself a wage. Right. If you actually said like, I need to make $70,000 and you took that as a wage, like the profit of the business is not any bigger than percentage wise than it would be as you scale. You're just taking a paycheck. You're not an investor, getting dividends yet. As you scale, you hit that $200,000 to $400,000 range in revenue, where you're getting like truck number 2, maybe 3 on the road, and you start displacing your wage with other people's wages, and you don't make any more money. I mean, there's ways to do it more profitably with like using part-time help and here and there to like scale more efficiently, but you hit like a weird sticky point in there that then once you get to like 500, 600,000, starts being profitable again, or increasingly more profitable. But then all of a sudden you need more office resources because you don't have time to sell all that stuff and answer all those phone calls and so on and so forth. And so now like that infrastructure drag starts to happen.
Because now we got to start hiring sales managers and operation managers and stuff
office managers. It's like all of a sudden you go from having like you and like maybe a virtual assistant to having like 3 or 4 people in the office. And I tend to see there's like a drag in the $600,000 to $800,000 range where again, it's like, no, we're like doing more and we're doing, but we don't have the processes, right? We don't have the people or the processes. And once you get over that like $800,000 hump to $1 million, you kind of hit like another profitability range. But then the minute you start passing $1 million, you hit another one where, and Andy and I are kind of there this year in our business, which is like, well, we need a couple people in the office and we need somebody out selling, but we also need somebody to just like manage all the damn processes. Right. And we've got somebody managing the operations. And so all of a sudden, like, you just swall on infrastructure, but then from like the 1 to 1.5 million, you can generally execute that with that same amount of infrastructure. So there's just these weird sticking points. And the first time you get to them, you encounter a new set of problems that you haven't solved yet. And that's where shit like this helps because there's somebody here that has, gone through that same gateway and solved that problem and knows, here's some mistakes I made. Here's some things I learned, here's why that mattered and here's why this didn't matter type of thing.
So but I thought business was easy. I thought that anybody could be a business owner and, I didn't think it was a bunch of hard work that I had to worry about all this stuff, all this business crap. And, I thought it was just spraying water. I mean, that's what everybody makes it so easy, right?
Yeah, it is just like that. No, I do think when we start our business, we're in the pressure washing industry. When we start our business, our job is to go clean stuff with the pressure washer. the minute we start scaling, we're in the people business. We're only as good as we are a leader, because we can't.
You mean I got to read leadership books too? I just can't read pressure washing books that
you don't have to. A lot of times on a podcast,
and I can't watch this pressure washing porn and all day long and that kind of stuff. I mean, I actually got to like start learning how to be a leader.
No, you don't have to. Well, everybody will suffer because of it. You don't have to. But I think that there's the challenge of scaling, because what got us into the industry isn't what helps us scale the business. And it's just like marriage and having kids. It's the best thing I've ever done, but I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, right? Like scaling a business is the same way. A marriage is really hard. It's great if you find the right person or whatever the case is, and having kids is great, but it's so fucking challenging sometimes, right? And our business is the same way. And the bigger it gets, the more challenging it can be. But the more challenging something is, the more rewarding it can be, right? And like, as business owners, we're addicted to pride. We started our own business because we like solving problems and overcoming challenges. The bigger the business gets, the goofier the challenges are. And then you start getting into like the people challenges. Those are always the hardest, because people are people, and that's like the hardest part of it. So
that's something that even like Jason Evers was saying this morning, about the 5 love languages, and you talking about marriage and how that 5 love languages is very important. That, my wife, she don't like touch, and I like to touch, and that can be bad, because what I like, she don't. Yep. And you think you're doing well, or maybe you think that your wife loves gifts, and you buy a $5,000 pair of earrings, and she's like, "Oh, thank you."
She just wants you to fucking go out and mow the lawn.
And she just wants you to go out and mow the lawn, or maybe she wants a different type of love language that you do.
I'm all about the acts of service.
Right.
And my wife is like not as much about the acts of service. She's about affirmation. But I'm like, what are you talking about? I did all these things for you.
Right.
Look at all the things I accomplished.
And she's like, I don't care about that.
Tell me how great I am.
Yeah.
So like, you're great, but look at all the things that I did for you. And now would you please tell me how great that I am?
And this falls back into business, because even with our
they're
employees,
laughing. This is exactly what happens with Marty and I. This
is even what we can do with our employees. If we think that, some people do like, hey, good job, and if you know that, that's worth more than $1,000. And if he's not a touch guy, then that's worth that could be worth $5,000 lawsuit at that point. So knowing your people, knowing those things to help you get those people to involved and grow and scale can help you a long ways. And it's not always what we think it might be, or I'm gonna be a badass and you're only gonna do this and you can't do that. Well, nobody wants to work for that boss either at the end of the day. So being a leader, learning those things, and learning to scale it's not easy to do, but it can be done. There's nobody out here that's special in any way that just makes them more special than you are at the end of the day.
I don't want to encourage people to scale, right? Like, I don't think it's the right solution for everybody. It's a fun game to play, but it's stressful as all hell. And so it's not the right thing for everybody. There's a lot of pressure that like Facebook groups and YouTube channels can like put on.
But I thought everything in Facebook group was true. I didn't think there was no false information in Facebook groups. I mean, and there's all kinds of people that want
to help you. You got a lot of weird thoughts, Jason. You got a lot of weird thoughts. But I mean, like the information is only ever as good as the person that's dishing it out, right? And anytime, I think Dalkey has a great way of putting it. Mike Dalkey always says, like, there's no room whenever we do BBBs, like no definitive statements. Nobody has the answer. We can only talk about our experiences. So we stress that nobody says, you should do this. And if I were you, I would do this. We got to say, I had a similar experience. Here's how I felt about it. Here's like emotionally what I was going through. Here's physically what I was going through. Here's how we handled it. Here's what was good. Here's what was bad of that. And let people decide for themselves, because everybody's in a different place, and not everybody should be scaling a business or scaling a business right now. Maybe it makes more sense later. Maybe it makes more sense now. Maybe it never makes sense, because you don't want to have that stress of being a leader, and that's not the thing for you, and that's totally fine.
And I know there's several people that are on here tonight that, you just want to, you're happy, one rig, one person, maybe a helper, you're doing $100,000, $200,000, and you're happy at that point. And that's fine. You don't need everything. because growing a business can be stressful. There's a lot of things that go involved in it. You know, there's people that have issues of losing marriages over business and losing, you know, friendships over business, losing a lot of things over business. And it's not really worth that at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think you can overdo it either way, right? If you're the solopreneur and everything rides on you, you can get so overcommitted because you're signed up for everything that it can be detrimental to your family and your friendships and stuff like that. And it happens all the time with people that are scaling the business because you just adopted a whole bunch of problems and it's hard to compartmentalize those. And there's always going to be demands on you from customers and from employees and from society and whatever the case is. So you can overdo your commitment to your business. And like we all are going to obsess about it, right? Like we're running our business. This is the thing we lose sleep about, and we chose to do that. We secretly enjoy that like burden of obsessing about our business. But we all, whether we're doing the solopreneur thing or whether we're trying to scale or whether we're scaled and we're like out of the business and like just coaching and leading, we are all at risk of overdoing and like putting too much stress on family members and friendships that we don't give enough time to. So it's just always a constant balance.
And
we're all addicted to our damn phones.
And that's
checking
kind
all
of the
our
whole
messages
thing
all
of
the time.
budgeting, of not just budgeting money, but budgeting time for our family, budgeting time for our business. You know, time is one thing that we can't get back. And so, you know, it is important that we are doing time for our family, that we are setting those times apart, that we are going to our daughters, you know, soccer games, our daughters' recitals, our boys, you know, baseball games. And well, I'm just too busy. And a lot of times I see that, and you're working so hard in your business that, you know, the whole point of owning a business and running a business, I understand that in the beginning, sometimes you have to grind, but at the end of the day, it's about time freedom.
Yeah, you're trying to create freedom and you're creating the obligation that disallows freedom.
Exactly. And that can be terrible on relationships, and that can be terrible on our family, you know, and it's not good at the end of the day.
That we also are at risk because we want like our employees to emulate our hard work, right? And we overdo it because we're so concerned about what they see. As we scale the business, we want them to only see us working. It's like, what a shitty example that is, right? Like, I want you to only see me like being stressed and miserable. And like, not that work is miserable. I fucking love like waking up on the weekends and doing bookkeeping. But I think like we have to be so cognizant of the example that we set, because that can drive such a bad culture if you just have this like, I'm a bulldog, I'm gonna keep my head down and keep working and y'all better follow my lead. Like, okay, well, like, are we running a dictatorship or what are we doing here? So I think just that how we set that tone, we're at risk of just we're not running a business because our work ethic sucks. We're usually running a business because we have a really good work ethic. We just need to be really cognizant of the impact that it has on our employees, on our family, on our friends, like that we can find that balance.
So do you have any last words about scaling a business?
Depending on where you're at, I think my words are, make sure it's the right thing for you. It doesn't have to be the right thing right now. Make sure the timing is right, and make sure you understand the financials of it, because the money that you make when you're the solopreneur is not going to extend into scaling a business, and that's okay. And be prepared that when you make that first leap and you get that next truck or two trucks going, it's a big investment. It's going to take a lot of work, and you're not going to make much more money, if any more money, when you do it. You're not doing that to make more money in year one and year two. You're doing it so that you're trying to buy freedom in the long term, right? So that you don't have to be the one out making the money. The business is the thing out making the money, and you can buy more freedom later. So don't stress if you're in that startup phase and you're going from 1 to 2 to 3 trucks and you're like, where's all my money going? It's supposed to go out the door. That's the value of knowing your finances, so you know how much is going to go out the door. And when you're making X amount of money, it's what you expected, it's what you anticipated. Or if it's not, you're doing the things you need to do to change to get it to where you need it to be. So scaling a business is a lot of work. It's a lot of money. Yeah, it pays off. Like there's plenty of examples of where it paid off, but it's not for everybody. It's okay if it sucks. It's okay if it's a struggle. It's okay if you're not making a lot of money while you're doing it. That's not the point. The point is to get to your freedom later on, so you can buy that freedom. But don't feel the pressure of everybody else talking about scaling a business, and I'm going to scale, and I'm going to scale, and here's what I'm going to do to scale. If it's not right for you, like, do what is right for you. It doesn't have to be scaling a business to make a lot of money.
You know, the average person to quit a business or business that fails is pretty high. It's really high.
Super high.
And, you know, it's not about scaling at the end of the day. If you're happy with being a one-person band, then do that. You know, do what you feel comfortable with. Do what you want to be able to do. You know, just because you have 5 employees and 2 admin and all that means is there's a lot of headache. Now, it can be good and it can be profitable, but just remember that there's a lot of headache when we start getting bigger. Yep. And, you know, it's kind of neat to see people here. I mean, there's people here that are making, you know, that has 50 employees, 50, 60 employees right here in this responsathon. And there might be people that even have more than that. But the people that I've talked to and seen, you know, and so I talked to one last night and he has, you know, 60 employees and, you know, he's got ADD, which most business owners have. And so he's here, there, and everywhere, but that's how he got to where he got, you know, and he loves what he does, and that's fun at the end of the day.
Yep. I was talking to a guy earlier at our booth who he's in Wisconsin. He does just under 500,000 in revenue, and he does it like by himself, just like super high ticket prices, very choosy about the jobs he takes. He's making plenty of money, but he did say the more money he makes, the more money he spends. Supernatural, right? Like, because money spent isn't fixed. It tends to go in a percent of the revenue. Like, the more revenue you generate, the higher your expenses go. Like, that's a super common relationship. And even though he's making more than enough money to be like satisfied, he's got like, there's something we all have as entrepreneurs that's like, I know this is gonna suck, and I kind of want that. Like, I'm going for the suck. And it's like just this weird addiction we have for some pain, right? And like, because I think we're addicted to the pride of overcoming hard things. And so when we get to the point where it's like, yep, I don't need to scale, I'm making plenty of money, like life is good, I'm in my comfort zone, there's this like itch that we get that's like, but I know
we need a little bit more.
But I know I shouldn't be in my comfort zone, I should be challenging myself. And it like, I think that's a natural inclination we're gonna have. And if you have a strong enough itch, like, go scale and solve those problems and get that pride and overcome that shit. But you don't have to feel sorry for yourself if that's not what you want, right? Life gives you plenty of challenges. You don't need to go seek more of them. Like, deal with your everyday challenges. But talking to him, it was funny because he was like, yeah, there's no point in me scaling. And then he's like, but if I was gonna scale, like you could just see if he's like right on this, like, you know, tightrope of like, no, I don't need to scale. I make plenty of money. But then again, it's really not about the money. You know, like, we make plenty of money. I think we'll still make plenty of money. But if I was gonna scale and we were gonna do this, like, here's what I'm thinking. And like, it was just so funny watching him like grapple with it, because he's like, yeah, he's fine. He's comfortable. He has no need to scale. He's making plenty of money. But as entrepreneurs, we just have that desire to like go do something that we haven't done yet, and that's super challenging.
I think the biggest thing that when we talk about scaling and we try to get more than just a solo guy is, you know, when you do have to think about hard times. What happens if you get hit by a truck? You might be like, well, I never get hit by a truck. What do you mean, Jason?
Nick DeMark got hit by a truck.
Nick Sick got hit by a truck on his motorcycle, and he ended up, you know, in bad shape. His leg was, as they thought he was going to die. And he ended up this year, he hired another guy that ran the truck the whole year. He didn't ride the truck at all, and ended up doing $200,000, you know, this year. It's year 2.
And he wasn't out spraying water.
And he wasn't spraying water. And, you know, he literally got hit by a truck on his motorcycle. And, you know, those are some things that, you know, them are things that you got to think about of what happens if you get hurt. And especially if you have a family and you might not have a wife that's working or any of those things. Those are some things that you have to think about. And if you don't have a backup plan, then maybe you need to look at short-term disability or things that you can buy, so that way you make sure that you don't get into that bad situation.
All right.
That's the better bookkeeper is what I've heard. I don't know.
No, she teaches you how to do your own.
Oh,
books.
she teaches you.
I gotcha. So if you want to
I think she is a bookkeeper too. That
She
also
is.
does
She-
it
she
too.
does.
So, and I heard she does better work than you. I don't know.
Hey, you know, I'm not gonna say anything. Megan likes the shit. That's all I know.
She is. She's awesome.
But to that point, just like other people in our industries that are great make us all better, and it's super fun when you have really good people that like. Megan's maybe my competitor, but I feel like we can collaborate and help each other out more than we'd ever, compete. And I think pressure washing is the same way. Andy Mashura, who's sitting right here behind the camera, like we were technically competitors for a while, but we're now business partners. And there was a day where like 2 of our pressure washers went down, and I was like, "Fuck, who am I going to call?" Like nobody has any pressure washers available. We got all these jobs, and I called Andy, and he's like, "I'm not home, but here's the code to my garage. Just go grab my trailer." He's got a trailer that was worth like more than my business. And the dude's just like, "I'm here to help, man. Let me know whatever you need. Whatever you need, go grab it." I was like, I want to be in business with this guy. Like, this is my kind of guy.
Right.
So competition is nothing but like raising the ceiling for everybody. If we help our competitors get better, they price right. They uphold the industry better. All of a sudden, all of us can price higher. All of us can do a better job instead of fighting the guy that we all complain about, right? So, I don't mind great competition like Megan likes, because she helps all of us get better because she does a great job.
Well, and I like poking at you anyway. So
do you?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea.
So what do you have any words of encouragement for people either just starting out or what, trying to scale and that type of thing?
I just go back to, you don't have to be a numbers person, but you still have to know your numbers, just like Jason said. So like, you don't have to be your own bookkeeper. You don't have to be your own accountant. There's a lot of stuff in your business that you need to get really good at delegating, but know that you signed up to play a math game. Don't deny the fact that business is not about spraying water on stuff. It is about the numbers that spraying the water generates. Like, you're here to make a profit. That's what your P&L is telling you. That's what your books are telling you. So if you're a solopreneur and you're running your business out of your bank account, that's fine. You can generally make those decisions with your gut. The minute you're going to start scaling, or even if you're doing the solopreneur thing, but you want to dial it in more, bookkeeping is not a tax thing, and it's not an office admin thing. It is a specific finance task to help you get better numbers, to know your numbers and help you make better decisions. Better decisions help you make more money. So my takeaway for you guys would be, don't convolute bookkeeping with tax shit. Don't convolute it with office shit. Know that it's a separate finance activity. And the only customer is the business owner. As business owners, we end up existing for our clients and for our employees, and we never do shit for ourselves. This bookkeeping is the thing you do for yourselves. It's yours. It's your data. It's your numbers that helps you. We're so busy helping everybody else, we forget to take care of ourselves. So if you do bookkeeping, it's for you. It's so you know how much money you're making and you know how to make more money.
So if people want to find out more about you, where can they find you at?
yourblueskies.com.
Awesome.
Sign up for a bookkeeping demo, and I'll talk to you. And if it's in the afternoon, maybe we'll even have a beer together.
So sorry, guys, that I haven't read the comments, because the comments are like down there
on a tiny
and
ass
when
little
you
phone.
are 40, you can't see that far very well anyway. So that's kind of why I haven't answered any questions. And I knew Dan and I could hang with just talking anyway. So if you want to go check out Dan, definitely go check out Blue Skies,
yourblueskies.com, or go check out the bookkeeping beer and BS page.
That's
There's
a good thing
YouTube,
too. It's on Facebook, YouTube, and that kind of thing. He's there. Also, if you want to go to our in-person training, go to kingofpressurewash.com/training dates. We're going to have some pressure washing and Christmas lights. Both of those are 101 classes. It's you get to do it. You get to put the lights up. You get to do the pressure washing. That's going to be March 5th and 6th, 7th, I think. And then March the 11th, 12th, 13th will be landscape lighting and advanced Christmas light classes. So definitely go check that out, and we'll see you all later.
Oh yeah.
If we can figure out how to end this thing.
I got this. You want me to do it? You gonna do it?